Welcome to this week's episode of MLM Renegade. Today, guys, we're going to talk about silence and how to enjoy it and when to enjoy it. Check it out. So here's the million-dollar question. How are network marketers like us, who've tried everything their upline ever suggested to be successful and yet still struggled, who grew up with technology and aren't stuck in the 20th century, how are we supposed to grow our downlines and our bank accounts and yet still have time for real life? My name is J.R. McKee. Join me as we explore how to use 21st century learning and technology to grow our downlines and build lasting wealth. Simply put, this is MLM done different. Welcome to MLM Renegade. All right, guys, welcome back. Today I've been thinking about this for a few days, and I wanted to get this episode live. And it was funny. I think it was a Depeche Mode song that came on, but it was "Enjoy the Silence," and it made me think. This week I've been reading Viktor Frankl's book, "Man's Search for Meaning," and I've been spending a lot of time and focusing a lot of time on my actual meditation practice. It's amazing what sort of things you can learn about yourself and the world around you when you take just a minute to slow down and to let the noise of the world subside a little bit. And it got me thinking about this idea of enjoying the silence. One of a book that I read, Ryan Holiday, he wrote Obstacle is the Way, which is one of my favorites. Well, one of the other books in that trilogy, he has Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, and Stillness is the Key. Stillness is kind of the same idea of enjoy the silence for me, and that practice of slowing down and searching for that stillness really can be the key to opening our minds to new experiences. It can be the key to opening to being able to hear that still small voice that tells us kind of what we need to do or give us inspiration as to the next step that we need to take. There's a book I'm actually reading or about to pick up called Thinking Fast and Slow, and it's the idea is the same. Is that sometimes you have to slow down. In fact, with the kids that I coach baseball with. I took a saying from Cam Newton, who's the NFL quarterback, and he played college football at Auburn. And when he was being interviewed before he was drafted, they talked about breaking down film and how at Auburn they tried to keep things pretty simple for him. Cam's a smart guy, but they tried to keep things simple for him in the defenses he was reading. And they would tell him, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And I've tried to instill that with the kids that I coach as well, that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. If you're trying to do things too hurriedly, too rushed, it's going to actually get bogged down. You're going to hurt it. But if you break it down to its base parts and work through those things slowly to the point where they're smooth, smooth becomes fast. And there's a lot to be said for that in our decision making and how we approach the world around us, because if we take things slowly and methodically, we can ultimately come up with better answers to the hard questions that are all around us, that come to us each and every day. So one of my goals for 2021 was to spend 15 minutes a day meditating. Now, this is hard. It's hard for me, which I think is kind of one of the reasons I relish it a little bit. But really trying to get my heart to slow down, trying to get my mind to just quit being distracted. This exercise it's been a good one, and it has been an exercise. I feel like I'm strengthening my mind as I do it, but I personally have to find a quiet place, and I use noise canceling headphones to help me. And I like to use sometimes some guided meditations where it's, it sounds like a beach or a rainstorm or something along those lines, to where I can just focus on one particular aspect. My breathing is usually what I'm focusing on, and slowing down my breathing and being in rhythm and just kind of being relaxed and allow myself to uncoil and unwind and have the tension leave me. And I find that I get great inspiration while that's silence. Now, if my mind isn't focused on something, it'll get scattered. But being able to recognize that, hey, I'm getting scatterbrained, and then bring it back to what I need to focus on. Say it's my breathing, for example. And when I focus on my breathing, I actually think about the tip of my nose, very tip of my nose, and how my breath moves past that point, almost to where in my mind's eye I can see that breath happening and filling my lungs and my belly and then exhaling. And that silence that brings of just hearing that function of my body is really grounding. I had an experience while I was in college. My brother-in-law, my little sister's husband, has an advanced degree in physics, and he's a ridiculously smart guy. Actually, makes the chips for noise canceling headphones like the ones I use. So super smart. Well, at the university, they have what's called an anechoic chamber, an being anti, and echoic being like echoes. So literally, this room, there are no echoes. In fact, you cannot, even if you speak, the sound just gets like sucked up by all the different anti-sound barriers that they have in this room. And they use it to test, different signal waves and other things. Here's the creepiest part about that absolute 100% silence. You know what the thing you hear the most is? Your heartbeat in your own ears. Yeah, it is that quiet in there. That's the only thing you can hear. I think of it as if, like it might be in space where there's no sound. It is space. Sound does not travel in space. So every time you see Star Wars, see a Star Destroyer blow up, yeah, it blew up in perfect silence because the sound waves can't travel through no medium. There's no air to travel through. But the point of that is that you can start to hear the blood rushing in your ears. And I've had that experience before in a really high, intense, adrenaline-filled situation where you get that feeling. But to have it when you're perfectly calm is a different experience entirely. And I find that I talked about this, that still small voice, that voice of inspiration that comes to you. I've often found, especially when I'm searching for an answer to a problem or a situation that I'm not quite sure how to handle, when I can stop and not focus on it, take my focus entirely away from it, my subconscious tends to serve up the answers that I need. And taking that minute to enjoy the silence can actually be the most powerful thing that you do during your day. Now, I don't fall asleep while I'm meditating. Again, I do about 15 minutes. I've done 30-minute sessions before, and I find myself starting to get a little bit antsy, so I'd like to work up to that. But being able to spend the time in silence, to listen, to be still, to not move, to just experience the things that are happening around me has given me more power to affect the things around me that I can. And that's been exciting to see, and a massive realization as I look at the world around me and the things that I can change and the things that I can't change. The political world right now is in turmoil in the United States. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, there's a villain. There's somebody to dislike on either side. And this isn't a political podcast, and I'm not going to talk about that. But what I am going to talk about is the idea that if we're worried about ourselves and what we can accomplish, it doesn't matter who's sitting in the Oval Office. It simply doesn't matter. Who's sitting in the Oval Office has zero to do with my own success. Now, it may make it easier or harder to have that success. It might make taxes easier or harder to deal with. But he or she has no ability to affect my life directly. I take that upon myself. Jocko Willink talks in Extreme Ownership about taking ownership for everything that is in your sphere. Even if somebody that I'm at work with does something wrong, I can take ownership for it because I didn't instruct them better how to handle that. If one of my kids on my baseball team drops a fly ball, I can take ownership for that because obviously we didn't drill fly balls enough, or lets a ground ball through their legs. I can take ownership for those things because it will make it so that they can learn in an environment that's going to be helpful for them. They can learn from my silence as well, and I can learn from my own silence as I sit, ponder, pray even, to get the inspiration that I need to lead my life, to lead my business, to lead my family. And I just want you guys all to take a few minutes. You know, my wife will sit in silence in the car after running carpool. That's where she finds her solace. And sometimes I'll go out there and it's been a half hour. She's just sitting in the car, just being quiet. And for me, it's that daily habit of meditation and being able to spend time with my own thoughts and to feel those and to feel what it feels like to be frustrated and then to push it away and to get to work. You know, I've been studying a lot of stoicism here over the past year or so. Ryan Holiday talks extensively about that. And one of the things I have definitely grasped from it is this opportunity that each of us have to affect our own lives for good or for bad. And the choice is ours as to which one it is. And we make that choice each and every day. But when we choose the good, when we choose to have it and to be happy with the outcome, no matter what it is, we gain control of our lives and we gain our power back. And that is super powerful. So you guys, so grateful for this week. Next week, we will actually have Jason Van Camp. He's the author of Deliberate Discomfort on the show. He is a Green Beret and now is a management consultant for businesses, and very, very inspirational guy. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. So until next week, you guys make it the best day. Hey, thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe. And if you loved us, leave us an awesome review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Now, if you'd like some free training for your team on how your recruiting efforts can be bettered and brought into the 21st century, go to podcast.mlmrenegade.com and get your copy of the Renegade Recruiting Kickstarter.